Hello, welcome to this event around this spectacular and thought-provoking and I'll say also disturbing film by Human. We are here with a very prestigious panel of experts and the filmmaker herself, Tonya Hessen-Shai, who made I, Human and is a creator of a number of other very thought-provoking films that also cover similar topics around human rights and machines and the interplay between. So I would also like to welcome Daniel Turkoff-Wilson, who's an impact producer at Think Film Impact Production and has worked also on the impact campaign around this film and has extensive human rights and social justice experience. Ivana Bartoletti, who's a privacy and data protection professional, tech director at Deloitte and co-founder of Women Leading in AI, the Women Leading in AI Network. And last but not least, Eleanor Senell, who is an award-winning social entrepreneur and founder of Teens in AI. And my name is Mia Bays, and I run Bird's Eye View, and we are hosting this because our mission is to bring ever greater audiences to films by women. I, Human has just come out in the UK. It just launched yesterday, and hopefully many of you watching have seen it already. If not, you're tuning in to learn more about it and watch it afterwards. We'll plug how you can see it if you haven't seen it already, and it's on demand from today, and you can see it online, and you can also, in doing so, support your local independent cinema by at the end of the checkout you can actually donate to wherever your local cinema is showing it, and it's around the UK. And I think we are welcoming audiences from around the UK, but also probably internationally. Certainly our panel is international. Tonya, you're in Norway. Daniel, you're in Brussels. Ivana and Elena and myself, we're all in London. So welcome to everyone. And it's lovely to see you all.
Thank you.
So Tonya, let's start with where this extraordinary film came from. Where did the idea and the kernel start? And talk a little bit about the kind of origin story and the development of it, please.
Yeah, so in my work for the last 15 years, I've been focusing on the changing relationship that we humans have to technology. And while I was working on my last film, Drone, which is a film on the CIA's secret drone warfare, I became increasingly fascinated by the autonomous weapons. And when I started looking into the technology behind these weapons, I had my sort of holy shit moment when I realized that artificial intelligence not only is going to change modern warfare, but also pretty much everything around us. And this was in 2014. And back then, nobody was really talking about AI. And there was definitely no public debate about the consequences of this technology just sort of creeping into our lives. So I decided to make iHuman. And in the beginning, I just have to also say I'm extremely fascinated by artificial intelligence. I'm a huge sci-fi fan. But all of a sudden, to me, like all the scenarios from sci-fi movies started, manifesting themselves in our daily lives. And one thing that blew me away was just at the speed at which this technology was developing. And for me, when we are facing the most powerful technology of our time, the most disruptive and far-reaching technology, it is really important that we stop and ask some hard questions about what direction we're going. So that's the thought behind iHuman.
Wonderful, thank you, Tonya. And certainly that last sentence, I think we'll be unpacking that quite considerably, actually. So Danielle Turkoff-Wilson, welcome. It's lovely to meet you. So can you talk a little bit about your role on the film, and your work is actually really vital in terms of getting the film out there and connecting the right kind of partnerships and also hosting the right kind of conversations. So yeah, you talk a bit about what the film means to you also.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mia, for having us all here. And I just think it's great to have such a powerhouse female panel. We're also looking for, hopefully, for Renee to join us. If she can join us, it'd be great. To bring the kind of diverse voices within AI to the table as well. For us, I think we're co-producers and we're impact producers. And what does that mean? For us, Tonya's work has been at the center of this industry for 5 years. And when we kind of met cataclysmically in Norway, 2018, I said, this woman is brave, she's courageous. And you know what? A lot of the reviews say disturbing or dystopia or, myopic. But the reality is that this is how immense this technology is. And anything that is immense always starts in this way, because as citizens, we don't know really already how much it has affected us at every level of our working days, our working life, the way we operate, not just work, play, social dynamics, mentioning another film there, Social Dilemma as well. The truth is that if we do not know how we can harness this for our benefit as citizens, we can't actually understand or bring this information that's brought to us in film accurately. We cannot demand how this will be so good for us, and we cannot make it a human approach, human value based. So for us at Think Film to work with Tonya in this powerful production is all about harnessing citizens having the right information and governments not playing catch up with tech companies that know how to drive this, but also have the expertise and knowledge to drive and protect rights of citizens. So that's where we come from as the impact behind this film. And I'll talk more about that later.
Wonderful, thank you, Danielle. And Elena, if we can turn to you, if you could maybe just say a little bit about more about your work and the angle which you're coming into this panel, and also then what the film means to you.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having me today. It's a real pleasure to be here amongst this incredible panel of very powerful women. I am coming into this world from my background is in politics and war studies, but I've come into AI by accident, purely because I wanted to disrupt education first and foremost. For me, with all of the technological advances that are happening in the world, I wanted my daughter to be aware of what was happening. I wanted my daughter to understand that when she, graduates, when she finishes her school, she will find her way in this world that's being shaped by technology, and most importantly, she will be one of the creators of technology. So I started involving her in various hackathons and networking events for women and technology focused. And then I realized that something needed to happen in the sector of education, because it hasn't quite changed in hundreds of years. And I decided to start running programs for teenagers. To begin with, this had nothing to do with AI. It was just how can we create technology for good, for impact. And then in 2017, we ran our very first AI hackathon in mental health. And that really showed me how powerful that technology is, but most importantly, how the teenagers really need to understand how this works, and most importantly, know how it's created, and how to create this ethically and responsibly. So my entire work is really focused on how can we nurture the next generation of ethical creators of AI in a way where AI is not really used for nonsense stuff like marketing, SEO, or military is also not somewhere where I would like to see this technology used, but really for impact, for health, for education, for climate change, and whatnot. So we have been working in lots of different countries. Many of our participants are girls. I'm really proud to say that. And since COVID, we've expanded into globally, pretty much. So I have watched the film. I have to say, it's not the film I would like to show to teenagers who are not familiar with AI, because it would give them quite a one-sided view of what AI can do. I didn't feel the film represented a perspective of what really has been done quite recently in terms of facial recognition, the moratorium and, the successes of some of our colleagues in the AI ethics. I would have liked to have seen some of the more impactful stuff that has been happening in the field of AI But I do really appreciate the rhetoric, and I do understand where the focus of the film lied, with the concentration of power with the big tech. So it's been a very interesting film. But when I watched it, I just wanted to take my son and run away and hide, and not wanting to be discovered by anyone. It had that kind of effect. But I am well aware of this technology, and it still kind of shook me up a little bit, and I would have liked to see a more positive narrative there as well. Yeah, that's me.
Well, give Tonya an opportunity to come back on that.
Yeah.
But I would like first to welcome Ivana, and if you could just tell us a little bit more about your work and your angle here in this conversation, and then also what the film means to you.
Thank you so much, and it's absolutely fantastic to be here, and what an amazing panel. I want to start by saying I got into all this from a sort of privacy perspective. I got into artificial intelligence and automated decision making from a privacy background. So I started years and years ago in privacy, and actually I got into privacy from a human rights perspective because I was concerned about the way that surveillance and so many other things were impinging upon human rights. But my view of privacy has changed over time. And as I started in privacy 2 decades ago, at the beginning, it was all about myself. You know, when you start into privacy law, it's all about you, and you want to protect your data. And now when people ask me, they say, well, you know, you must be so careful about your personal data. You must be so worried. I'm like, no, actually, no, it's not about me. And that is because over the years, I have come to realize that privacy is much more about autonomy. It's much more about the freedom to navigate life without being manipulated by super powerful algorithms that have become very, very strong, very powerful, and they have the ability to edit reality as we see it. They have the ability through predictive technology to construct relationships between the past, the present, and the future. And they have the ability to really create a reality and act as gates to reality as we see it. And we see the impact that this is having on society and on democracies, because when we all see different things, because when these algorithms are used to really look at our intimate secrets online and then target us with specific information based on specific pieces of news based on who we are, then the basic of democracies crumble, because we all see different things. And what are we going to talk about if we say different things? So my approach to privacy has changed over time, and from a very individual right has become a very collective right, has become the idea that we as a collective, we need to preserve our autonomy, and we need to preserve our freedom not to be manipulated. Having said that, I've also come to see a lot of fantastic things happening through artificial intelligence and automation. You know, the recent developments coming from DeepMind, they have been absolutely fantastic. And artificial intelligence can indeed be a fantastic force of good. But we have a problem out there, and I think the film is really good at showcasing not so much about what AI could potentially be in the future, but what artificial intelligence can do here and now. And this is really important, because the problem is that a lot of people, when they think AI, they think about Terminator. They think about things that can happen 20, 30, 40 years and maybe never happen. But the problem is that artificial intelligence is here with us day in, day out, is already in our daily life. So that's what I valued about the film. In my day job, I help companies harness the value of data in an ethical way. I really advocate very strongly with the women leading in AI to ensure that AI is developed responsibly. And to do so, one of the things that I try and do is to bring the corporate governance, but also to bring regulation in this sphere. And regulation is very, very important. And one thing that Tonya in her film doesn't talk about, but I think it's good that she doesn't, because what she's doing is she's basically saying, this is the world how it could become. These are the people driving all this. But in reality, what is missing in the film, but is a good thing that is missing, is the politics, is the fact that actually what we need is the human race, us as humans, to put in place the governance. And I'm not talking about regulating AI, which in itself means like nothing. What does it mean? It's like regulating mathematics, but it's regulating the behavior of humans around the use of artificial intelligence, which is what Joanna Bryson, as a scientist, always talks about, regulating the behavior. And I think this is really important. It films like this, although, of course, they're apocalyptic, but obviously they are, because, and there's not a chance that it's us women. This film is done by women because we have got a lot to lose from these technologies. We've got a lot to lose because this technology can be a force of good, but can also be a technology that takes stereotypes and turns them into prejudice by encoding and hardwiring racism and bias into the algorithms. We've got a lot to lose as women. So it doesn't surprise me that a woman does a film which is quite apocalyptic. Obviously she does. But I think what she's also asking for is to say, hold on, come on, politicians, policymakers, come to grips with this. We've got to put some governance around all this. And I think this is the core that comes very strongly and very firmly from this film.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. There's a lot to unpack there, Tonya. I wanted to give you a bit of a chance to respond to maybe both of those points, and you, Danielle, as well. I'm sure there's a lot to respond to. So, Tonya.
Yeah, no, and I just want to say too that I just love this this powerful and beautiful panel. So, when I started the production of iHuman, I really wanted to go into all the positive impacts that AI can have. And after, countless of tech conferences and close to 80 interviews that we did for this film, I just started getting extremely sick of all the hype that surrounds this technology, and all the unwillingness to really look at the ethical challenges that we are facing with this technology today. And who doesn't love a happy ending? And who doesn't want to just kind of hold on to something positive that is happening in this sphere? And for me, though, I didn't find anything that I felt like really could carry that story and give us or justify holding on to that hope before we have solved the challenges that we're facing. So that's why I decided to focus on the ethical challenges, because I do think it is crucial that in order for people to really understand what's going on, we have to wake up. And in order to wake up, maybe we have to turn up that bass. Maybe we have to kind of look at what kind of dystopian world it is that we are facing if we do not do something right now. So that's where I came from with iHuman. And I have to say, here in Norway, we've shown the film to thousands and thousands of teenagers through this beautiful school screening system we have here. And I have been blown away by how even 15-year-olds can sit through, a film that's over 90 minutes with full attention, and their engagement afterwards and their questions have given me so much hope. And I totally, I love what you do, Elena. Like teaching kids how to code is also what I'm promoting when I'm out there, like actually meeting the teens and especially girls for sure, because I do think that is the answer. I mean, I do think that we have to sort of reclaim the narrative and reclaim our own power in how we are developing this technology. But that, for me as a storyteller, doesn't mean focusing in on some of the few beautiful things that are also happening with this technology.
Great, thank you, Tonya. Danielle, yeah, sure.
Yeah, coming up to you, Tonya. I mean, first of all, the panel has just got such incredible insight. I agree, both Elena and Ivana's work are fundamental to society and this debate today in AI. And I feel like if any of your work is done purely by your own interest and charity, our governments are failing us, because your work should be integrated in educational systems, curricula. Young women should be learning all about how to build ethical AI and design and everything that you're all talking about as a structured government obligation, not as something that should be playing catch up. And I mention this again, playing catch up, because I do think it's crucial. I'll pick up on what you said, Ivana. I think that it's about how and who holds the power to deploy these tools. Vera Jourova, the vice president of the European Commission, who features in the film, she wasn't vice president then, she says, just imagine how such tools could be used in the wrong hands. Just let us go back and look in history. If someone like Joseph Mengele had the power to discern traits and characteristics in a big data sense, you know. And that's not to empower this kind of fear. It's to show that if we don't bring this up, if people in governments are playing catch up because they don't want this to be in the wrong hands. We just saw protests in France saying that they wanted to withdraw footage from real police officers and the way the citizens have recorded their kind of justice amongst them, and they wanted to deny the right to have access to that footage. If we do not regulate now, we're allowing things to be legal for machines that are illegal for humans. And I'm quoting Paul Nemitz there, another person that worked with us in the film, absolutely crucial. We managed, according to what he was saying to us, that we managed to really change the narrative from regulating. You know, yes, it's not about complete regulation and stopping creativity and design. And I completely agree with what you were saying there, both Elena and Ivana. But it is about creating parameters on how this is used, who uses it, what data sets are used when do you have permission? Does an international security issue means I'm suddenly going to take all those parameters away? How do I know as a citizen that I'm truly protected? And that's where iHuman is different to all the other films that have come out. We're working really hard, Tonya and I and the team, to make sure that we're looking at national AI strategies, that we're looking at real ways to bring AI learning into schools. We are not just sharing the news. This is not the bad news day. This is happening, guys. Let's change it. Let's be the change makers. And I just wanted to share those examples.
Wonderful, thank you. I mean, Elena, I'd like maybe Elena and Ivana a chance to respond. There's a lot there in what Tonya and Danielle said. What would you like to pick up on, Elena? Let's start with you.
Well, I mean, with films in general, I'm always very skeptical what comes out in Social Dilemma, and then there were quite a number of films recently about AI. I'm always worried about the motivation and the angle in those films. With this film, I would have liked to have seen something that really empowers the citizens. So the work I'm doing, and I just wanted to correct Tony as well, we don't really teach coding. We teach how to take technology into your hands and use it for something impactful, and that's different to just teaching how to code. So I would have liked to have seen some narrative where actually there is the bad, which is what the film has depicted, but also there are some positives, and I felt the narrative was very much one-sided and almost went down the line of fear-mongering, and that's not what I would have liked the teenagers, particularly those who are not familiar, who think of AI as sci-fi, or who are really fearful. We have some teenagers in Fiji, for instance, who are just too petrified of coming to a hackathon, or just because they're worried about the word AI. Showing a film like this would completely put them off and just make them run away, and wonder what's going to happen to our jobs. I mean, the feedback I got from some of our colleagues from Fiji was exactly that. They are worried about learning how to do AI or how to do this kind of technology in general, because they're worried they're going to lose their jobs, or AI will really result in them losing the jobs that they currently have, and various other fears. So there needs to be a lot of awareness and education around this topic, and it's not about only depicting what the film sought to depict. I really would have loved to see a more balanced view, and by all means, we really do need to be very, very careful and know the risks and mitigate them. And we are well aware of what this technology can do. If you, in fact, speak to teenagers, particularly teenagers in our network, they will tell you AI is at the moment is in the stage of infancy, perhaps age 3 or 4.
Sure.
It's not really advanced. It's very, very basic. They'll tell you it's just maths, Eleanor. It's maths that we teach to GCSE students. It's not really advanced. Anyone can build a model. We have teenagers building a model within 2 days. It's nothing. So that's what the teenagers have had to say as a feedback. But these were teenagers who are already aware of this technology. If I were to show this film to somebody who has not been familiar at all, or only knows about this technology from sci-fi films, iRobot, Ex Machina and whatnot, I think the reaction might be a little bit different. I certainly wouldn't want this film to be shown across all schools in the UK. I would like there to be some awareness of different balanced stories. You know what I mean? I don't know what Ivana would say, but to that, but
it's an interesting one because over the last decades we've seen sort of some of the absolute best of technology, haven't we? You know, we've seen some amazing things happening. We've seen technology being used in medicine to really support people. We've seen it used in education to really help people, especially kids with learning difficulties. And we have seen technology used in for example, in medical imaging, being able to recognize and spot a particular disease way before it manifests and it becomes a problem. But the reason why I think we are here, regardless from personal opinion, is that we love technology so much that we want it to work for everyone. And I think, you know, this is the point that brings us together. You know, we like it. It's not that we don't. We're not Luddites. You know, we're not women who say we don't want tech. We really dislike it. We don't want AI. No, actually, we do. We do like improvement in society. We do want to fight climate change. We do want to have technology that makes cars safer and helps kids with difficulties. You know, technology can be absolutely fantastic. We are in the middle of a pandemic. You know, now more than ever, we know that we need tech. We know that we need to share data. We know that we need to fight we fight diseases with science. You know, we fight them. We've just approved a vaccine across the world, and it's really important. So we are here talking about all this, and Tony has been doing an entire film of this because out of love for technology and the future and the progress it can bring. And having said that, over the last few years, we've also seen some of the worst of technology. Facial recognition tech, for example, that it discriminates against women of color, discriminates against Black women. That is problematic. The fact that we've come to realize through also thanks to films such as The Social Dilemma and I, Human, we've come to realize the politics and geopolitics of data. We've come to realize that there's nothing neutral about data. That data is just a mirror of society as it is now. And the problems with unfettered use of data is that the biases that we have and the chauvinism and the racism that we have in society right now, there is to be hardwired and coded into the systems, thus becoming the prejudice that we want as women in particular to get out of the window, you know. But that's why people talk about automation of racism, automation of poverty. So the thing is, we have also seen some of the very negative elements of tech, and that is problematic. And we've seen some of the negative elements of technology and facial recognition. We've seen in the UK, for example, with the algorithm, which graded students when they couldn't do their exams because of the pandemic, an algorithm which was favoring students coming from private education, thus replicating the stereotypes and replicating the social inequalities that we have in societies right now. Now, the question is, and the issue is, in my view, is that we need to be careful not to look at technology as this sort of either good or bad. You know, technology in itself is not a neutral thing. Technology, a technological product, whatever it is a techno-social artifact, is designed by human. So it's designed by humans, it's created by humans. The data ingested are data that are collected by human beings. And when you collect data about human beings, you choose which person is going to be onto a database and which person is not going to be in a database. This is an act of choice, and it's a very political choice. The fact, for example, that in medicine, we don't really know much about women's disease like endometriosis. Nobody knows about it. I mean, now we're coming to terms with it and it's becoming mainstream, but it's simply because data is the product of social hierarchies. Therefore, all this data gets ingested into this machine. There's nothing neutral about this process, nothing neutral whatsoever. And people are coming to realize the power of these machines. Now, the question for me is, how do we turn this into something more? You know, corporations, organizations, businesses, they are coming to realize the importance of this. It's not that they are not. You know, the fact, for example, that we are phasing, you know, big like Google, for example, is phasing out third-party cookies. The fact that, for example, we are having a lot of companies taking a stance, you know, not all of them, but some are doing this. This is because there has been a huge demand coming from people saying, hold on a sec, that's not right. Hey, you've got to stop this. We care about our data. We care about technology. And it's also because of the courage, the passion, and the dedication of people like the ones Ellen is teaching and is involving, who really care about how their technological products are being developed, deployed, and monitored. This, what I call tech activism, is absolutely crucial. The next step is, how do we make sure that all of this gets turned into a real governance at global level about the way that we use artificial intelligence? In my book, I say, in An Artificial Revolution, my book, I say, can we for a moment compare artificial intelligence with nuclear? Can we say, nuclear can be extremely good, but can also be extremely bad? But how we dealt with it? We've dealt with it with politicians sitting around the table, sometimes working, sometimes not working, but trying to agree what we're going to use this technology for. So what is missing here is really the ability at global level and at regional level to really try and understand the rules to govern all this. And this is the next step. And we've got to do it now, as Tonya and Daniel have said. Now is the moment. Otherwise, it's going to be too late.
I think if you don't mind, really example. Tonya, maybe you could bring up some of the issues, around, for example, our conversations with corporations around insurance and algorithms that will give categories that are now, kind of a scoring system. And what does this mean for citizens? The reason I bring it up is you mentioned, both of you, Elena and Ivana, mentioned things around freedom, access, and transparency. Access to a technology, understanding what it means and its benefits. Freedom to choose what you opt in and opt out of. And transparency to know how our data is used and when. But the thing is, none of that has been available for years. And only now do we get articles every day, 1 or 2 lovely different articles about AI in the news. But about 5 years ago, we had nothing, and this was already happening. So one, as a citizen, when you're a filmmaker, what you do is you come from the perspective, why is this being kept so secret? Why is it not being shared? Why is it not transparent? Why is it not free? Why do I not have choices? And I think that's where we're coming from the film. And I'd love, Tonya, just to bring out some of those moments, eureka moments.
Eureka moments. I'm sorry, Danny, I missed your intro because there were some interesting tech sound issues. But I do want to say that, I just want to bounce back to you, Elena, just saying that, for me as a documentary filmmaker, I don't see it as my responsibility to do fair, balanced storytelling, really. And for me, it's more important to tell a story that I feel will engage people. And you can't make a film that, is for everybody. So for me, it was more important to wake people up, and especially to the issues when it comes to the power behind this technology. Because yes, like Ivana says, AI is just a tool, and it is really up to us how we use it. But right now, the power concentration behind AI is absolutely not democratic. We are seeing one of the biggest power concentrations, maybe, in our history, where tech companies basically operate kind of like a mafia, where there's no transparency about how they are developing and implementing AI in our lives. And there's also hardly any international regulations for how this is done. So here we are now today in a situation where we have very, very few white, super rich men or boys who are making decisions that are impacting most of humanity. And that is something that, for me, is something we have to deal with right now. And I'm sorry, I just had to say this, Danny. So I kind of lost. I don't think I picked up, the eureka moments you were talking about. But why don't you talk about them if you're?
Well, I'll just say one more thing before we let the Ivana and Elena come back, and maybe you have something else to share there, Tonya. For me, I recently got exposed to Maslow's, hierarchy of needs in AI, a kind of new version of what AI needs are in this hierarchy. And when you look at a hierarchy of needs, some things are just fundamental. You can't live without them. You die. You know? And AI dies without us. AI dies without, machine learning dies without every single person's data. We are so valuable, yet we don't know it. We have so much that we could develop, use, benefit, give, allow other powerful individuals, governments to do and bring to us, but we have no control over then the profile that's built on us. And I think what we're looking at with iHuman is how can we make these AI profiles and data sets accessible to us? How can we be involved in them? How can I decide what someone sees and not? I definitely agree with what Ivana was saying. There's a level of regulation happening, and companies are taking action. And I've seen the EU deliver, a really strong, and they're going to announce an even stronger guidelines for ethical frameworks, even for the way corporations internationally trade with the EU. But is this a geopolitical game? Which area can be more ethical, less ethical? Who can build more faster? Elena, you said something in an interview that I thought was amazing about digital natives. But young people are digital natives, but are they digital native builders? Do they know what they're building? They are receivers, recipients. And I think it would be, the work that you're doing is incredible to change that narrative, to get them to develop it for good. But I do feel that there is a gap. There is a gap between what this Maslow needs of AI is and what our rights as citizens are. And I think together we can address that. It's possible. It's just that it should not be a secret any longer. We should not be saying AI is weapons and AI is love matchmaking. AI is everywhere. It's machine learning. Let's give people the freedom to understand that. And that's where I feel iHuman is different in presenting that strong, this is how bad it could be. And I think we should also remember, it is the godfathers, wrongly, who are, they're the people who originally built this technology and brought it to us, that are saying it. And if we cannot hear that and see that as something that is, what are those crazy people saying? They are the people that brought it to us. And I wonder, if someone brings you something, what do you do? And one last quick point, which is, jobs and people being afraid. I really understand that, but that is an age-old concept. People were worried about that with coal and steel. We cannot allow that. We have to show it, and we have to force the people around us, the multiple stakeholders, government, society, communities, to say, you know what, in 5 years, these jobs are going to change, and I'm going to retrain you. I'm going to give you the skills you need to be able to do that job. And I want a human to be a boss. I want a human in the loop of this AI magnificence, not AI madness. I don't know. That's just my kind of perspective on it from the impact side.
Elena, would you like to respond? There were a couple of points there for you. You're on mute.
Apologies for that. All I will say to that is there were a couple of moments in the film where my eyebrow raised when, for instance, there was a moment when on the future of work and many people losing their jobs and becoming homeless. I felt that was a little bit taking this to the extreme, because we know that will not happen, and people evolve, and jobs will evolve, and etc. And the entire rhetoric around the fathers and some of the choice of the commentators in the film, I wondered, Hanson Robotics is not really known to be the most ethical of roboticists at all. And I don't really know of any credible ethicists who would even respect what David Hanson and his team are doing in the field of robotics. It's just the angle on AGI that there will be robots roaming around, and let's bring those robots alive, and they will be alive. Is completely unnecessary, I think, because that's won't be happening. I really do appreciate the angle on military and what happened with Cambridge Analytica and everything. But what I really want to see is more of people taking this into their power, I suppose, people empowered to make that change. People joining Algorithmic Justice League, knowing that we are going to get the moratorium on facial recognition, on emotion recognition, because this is completely unnecessary, the kind of technology that we don't need. And people will be asking, why is this technology being built, and what is the intention behind this? Why does it exist? And I feel the work I'm doing, the reason why I'm reaching out to the young people is because I really do want them to be that next person at Google who will say, I don't want to be working at Google anymore because Google has just signed a deal with Pentagon or whatnot, or stop working at Amazon and just because Amazon decided to sell, recognition to police or whatnot. And I think that ethical awareness and consciousness needs to really happen at the level of education, which sadly is not happening. It's a little bit too late teaching ethics at the university level. And this kind of notions, this kind of case studies need to be highlighted. But at the same time, I really do want young people to understand that they are responsible for the choices they're making. As humans, we all are. And it will be up to them to either go and join Google and be part of the team that develops the next algorithm that could be highly discriminatory and foster further inequalities. And I have always stated that if we are to instill any technology in a society that already does not work in the way that we would have loved to have seen it work, then that technology will further those inequalities, those injustices, that discrimination, that chauvinism and everything else. So we do really need to be mindful, of course, of that. But nonetheless, I felt it's just the rhetoric was one-sided, and that really was a little bit problematic for me. But the calls for regulation are real. I think we will see some regulation coming into force. I do not know when. It's always a very lengthy process, isn't it, Ivana? GDPR, I don't know how long it took GDPR to come into force, and many would say it's very, very outdated already. We are not really keeping up, legally speaking, with all of the advances in technology. There definitely needs to be more regulation of the big tech and small tech. Whenever any startup or company develops any technology, there needs to be some stamp, like organic, not organic, does good, does bad, and as long as everyone follows some sort of a do no harm regulation, then I think we will be in safer hands. But that is yet to happen. Vana, am I right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a crucial question, about regulation. And the thing is, there is a lot to unpack in this. First of all, is what does it mean to regulate AI? It's not an easy question, because regulating artificial intelligence in itself to me is meaningless. What I would like to see regulated is how artificial intelligence impacts on society, and what I would like to see regulated is the behavior of humans when yes, around it. I would like to see that happen. And obviously regulating AI in healthcare is very different from regulating AI when we're talking about algorithmic driven advertising. We're talking about different things. And the problem is we don't want to mix them up. So when we talk of algorithmic driven advertising, the problem that we have there is that there is a digital ecosystem which has been allowed to run completely wild over the last decades because the GDPR took so long to come. So, and then we have this thing called the real-time bidding process, which is basically a data protection free zone, but change is happening in this sphere, where, for example, now the digital advertising ecosystem is changing with the demise of third-party cookies, the utilization of first-party data. That's one thing. Regulating AI in other areas is different, and in financial services is so we have to discuss what is needed, what are the new harms generated by AI. And that it comes to me a crucial point, because we are talking everybody is, we're talking about ethics, we're talking about harms, and I challenge always this: whose ethics? Harms to whom? I mean, this is a very Western-centric debate. And not just that, this is also a very white-dominated debate, where the people were really fighting for that justice, and they are the ones also making very clear, like Joy Buolamwini, that there is a substantial, massive difference between algorithmic fairness and social justice. We're talking about two different things here. We don't create an equal society because we create fair AI. We create an equal society if we create an equal society. And they're two separate things. And we can't have a techno solution to the problem of society. You know, the problems of society will be solved by political action, not with a technological answer. Technology can support change, but it's not going to be the thing driving the change. The issue that I'm trying to say here is that, you know, we need to really understand, and I think, you know, Black Lives Matter is really instrumental for us, you know, that you can have the perfect technological product. You can have the perfect, for example, facial recognition software that does no longer discriminate against Black women. And yet the use of it can
questionable.
No, not just that, it can be extremely discriminatory, because you will end up wrapping the surveillance around the most vulnerable in society anyway, regardless of how perfect the tool is. Why am I saying this? Because there is one question that we need to ask ourselves before all this, which is the question of, you know, what is technology for? You know, over the last decades, I don't know you, but the way I felt is that sometimes I felt I had to adapt to technology rather than having technology adapting to me. And with all this thing about, you know, we can multitask, we can do a lot of things, you know, talking as a woman here, has your life, and be honest, really improved and really become much better with a lot of technology, smart tech, and the fact that you can buy your food online, and the fact that you can have a smart fridge and you can have a smartphone? Has it really become less demanding? You know, and probably we need to admit to ourselves, you know, that, well, actually, you know, the not really, you know, the fact that we, for example, for women in particular, that we have all this smart tech, or that we can do a lot of things using technology, probably for a lot of us means that we are becoming even more Wonder Women, having to do even more things at the same time. Why am I saying this? Because the key point here is not just about getting, you know, more women owning tech, more women in coding. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's great. You know, we need that. And Elena knows this really well. We need more women in tech. But we also need more women making the decisions about what we're going to use AI for in the first place. Because if the only answer to us and the problem that we're facing is that we need to get more women in the coding room, sorry, I disagree. The issue here is that I want to see more diversity across races, across everything, in the company boards, in the parliament, in the commissions, where we are making the decisions about the technological products that we are going to create. That's the key thing, because what we are living at the moment, is the so-called techno solutions, that every social, political, economic problem is going to be solved with technology. I'm sorry, no, that's an illusion. Technology can be fantastic at supporting, and we love it. But the key thing is we need to develop the technologies that are there to serve humanity and to make ourselves better. And the way to do this is to get more diversity in the rooms where the decisions are made. And I say this with really, you know, I know all these campaigns to get more women in tech. I really understand this. And this is key. I mean, I've got a 4-year-old daughter. I get really annoyed when I see some of the cartoons that, you know, and the things that the kids have got to watch. I mean, they're terrible. But the key thing here really is that we've got to really have more diversity and more really where the decisions are made, because don't let us not be fooled here. You know, artificial intelligence is much more than technology. It's really about power, and we are seeing this at a global level. The terminology that is used is, everybody calls it a race, and it comes out really well in the film. This is a fantastic point, the geopolitics of it, that Tony, you know, and Danielle showcase is great. Artificial intelligence is around power. Has got the power to really reshape a lot of things. And everybody talks about this race. As its power, we women, we know it really well, because we know what power is all about. We know it because we know what power hierarchies are. We know what, and it's not by chance that it's we women, we feel, and we're the ones who really sometimes really, you know, we want to do the right thing with tech because we really know what power means. So what I would say is, let's take this film and other fantastic contributions that come in this space as a call to action, not just to get into tech, but also to get into the debate and pretend and ask for these regulations and go and really, you know, support other women to get on the car at the top of these company boards and discuss what we're going to use tech for. This is what I would like to see, because AI could be great, but I really want to see more diversity and more women really out in those boards where all the decisions are made.
Tanya, let's bring you in to respond to that point. Or
Yeah,
there are
no,
lots
well,
of points there.
I couldn't agree more on all levels. So thank you for that, Ivana. Well said. And I, you know, having released the film here in Norway, like we went through a really interesting process where we had, you know, all kinds of screenings for different departments in the government. And one of the issues that, you know, a lot of these different departments came to us with was that, you know, we're having to sort of give over our governance to private companies, because our mandate is to go out there and get the cheapest and most efficient and best AI systems. And here in Norway, the police has even bought, you know, Palantir because that is the cheapest, most efficient system out there. And just very briefly, I mean, Palantir was a system that was created after 9/11 by Peter Thiel, and it's very, very far from the democratic system and values we have here in Norway. And the same thing, you know, it comes back to what you were talking about, Ivana. What I really believe is that we have to, you know, raise money and put a lot of money into developing our own AI that can compete with private companies' AI systems. And in the situation that we are in right now, the most efficient systems out there come from countries like China, the US, or Israel. So we have a huge job to do on so many levels. And I also just want to jump back into Elena and what you said about AGI, because the reason that it was important for me to look at AGI in the film was because some of the brightest minds in the industry, that is their holy grail, is actually developing artificial intelligence that is just as smart or smarter than us. And yes, there's a big debate if this is even possible. After 80 interviews with some of the leading minds in this space, most of them actually agree that this is going to happen. The question is just about when. But the reason why I think it's so important that we don't just disregard it is because I think that is kind of naive, because there's so much money being thrown into this development, and the byproducts that come from their research has ended up in things that we have to deal with on our everyday life, like speech recognition, facial recognition, etc. So it is really important that we keep track of what is going on in this space, because hell, if this actually is going to happen, I really want to have a voice in what kind of values go into the systems that we are creating today, to make sure that today we are having AI that is developed for our common good. And then, yes, we have to agree on what is the common good. And there's a huge job that we have to do. But I think it's kind of naive just to not even consider all the work and the effort and the processes that are going into towards AGI.
Thank you, Tanya. Daniel, you were nodding a lot there. Have you got anything to add? We've just got a few more minutes. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that I would. I think all of the strongest points have been said, and I'm just going to go back to, you know, it is all about citizens knowing about this and being able to have a good, solid debate. What is powerful in society when people are empowered, they have knowledge. And I give the example of bias because I think it's the one that everybody is focusing on right now, actually, with AI technology. It's all about bias and facial recognition and diversity, and if Black people are recognized and white people are. I mean, I actually wish white people's faces weren't recognized. I wish. Because then I wouldn't have to use that technology. I wish that we wouldn't have to focus our efforts on improving a technology that might not be useful for us. To look at your question, Ivana, of what technology should we use when? And I say I wish because I'd rather it worked according to what we want for everyone than it works for some people and not. And actually, some people might benefit from not being recognized right now. And I'm going to say something about bias. A machine can be biased as much as a human can be biased. So there are definitely processes that could be valuably done by machines that probably be less biased than human. But when we're looking at a criminal court case and you want to look at intent or emotions behind something, you have to kind of look at, does an algorithm find that gap? Do they look at the intent? And if we looked at Black Lives Matter movement cases that went to court and it was just kind of being deciphered by an algorithm, we might have to kind of question ourselves on how many more Black people there would be in prison wrongfully based on an algorithm, right? Because the data that we have is also not fair and biased. It's not fair in terms of the spread of diversity. And then I say something that was said by an EU regulator in the Justice Department to leave citizens with, which is, do we want a world where crime is impossible? Because actually the margin of doubt is what makes us human. And I just think, I'm not saying we should all be infinite crimes, but the whole point is we need some kind of margin of error to be able to allow ourselves to choose what is right or wrong to a degree. Otherwise, the debate doesn't happen, and we need debate. We need to be able to discuss these harsh topics. And I think we're allowed to all have different opinions. That's what makes us humans beautiful. And it's not mathematical, and it's not equational. It is unique because it's human. And I leave the audience with that final few words from Maisa. Oh, Mia, you're on mute.
Sorry, I'm just going to say we've just got a couple more minutes. I want to give the final word to Tonya, actually, because really we're here because of her great work and this important call to action that we have, which is to watch our human. But I'd like Elena, maybe any last messages about your work that you want to leave the audience with?
I mean, the last message would, I suppose, be to wake up to the realities, to recognize that we as humans have got the responsibility and we do have the power to change the politics. I really do want people to know, young people to know that they are empowered to make the change that they want to see. And whilst the power and the technology is concentrated in the hands of the few, there are ways to democratize that technology, to offer access to the people, to understand how this works, and to have the ability to change the world for the better through technology. And so I feel there is more work that needs to be done in the space of education, where we nurture those values, those foundations that will be fundamental when this younger generation goes into the tech industry to build those technologies, because it will be up to them to make that choice whether they really do want to join those companies that do invest money into nonsense stuff like AGI, because the focus there is wrong. The focus should be on how can we tackle climate change, how can we tackle mental health, how can we tackle health conditions, and not on can we please have this AGI roaming around like mutant algorithms creating havoc in the lives of people. That's what I will say, and this is how I will end.
Fantastic. Thank you, Elena. Same question to you, Ivana. Any final message?
Yes, I like to say three really brief, 1 second thing. The first one is to everybody should read some of this, what some amazing women in particular, and in particular Black women and women of color are writing about all this. And it's really important to do so because some of these things can be rather uncomfortable, but it's really absolutely important that we familiarize with how for Black women and women of color data always lies. So it's really important to really familiarize with that. Second brief thing that I want to say is let us not think that these machines are just some autonomous things. These machines are created by humans. So if we say, for example, these machines are very powerful, we've created these things that can do incredible things. No. They're done by us. The responsibility is ours. They are created by humans. And so let's stop seeing these things as some mythical, sort of features of the world. They are created by us. We've got complete power of them. This is why we're going to do the right thing. And the third thing is a call to think about the value of privacy. And the reason why I'm saying this, is because I hear a lot, there's one thing that somebody says in the film that says, privacy is dead. No, it's not at all. And it's change, it's not about, I want to safeguard my own data. We've seen in the pandemic the importance of sharing data. And I want to, the last thing, the message with me is let's together rethink what it means to be private and what privacy means in this age. about autonomy, about freedom from manipulation, about the ability to navigate life without having algorithms editing the way that we live and editing what we get exposed to. And this is really important. This is really where we need to have an absolutely important conversation.
Wonderful, thank you. And Tonya, I'd like to give the last words to you, actually.
Well, thank you so much. And I have so enjoyed this debate. And I think that, you know, what I hope that the audience takes away from this is that in order to become better humans and to understand what it means to be a human in our digital age, maybe the most important thing that we need to develop more is a new form of critical thinking. Because for me, we are at this crossroad where it is really up to us what direction this technology is going to go. And it is we who have to decide what this technology should be used for and not maybe what it could be used for. And for me, the whole concept that the big tech giants are calling us users really kind of provokes me on a deep level because it's diminishing who we are. We are not just users, we are citizens of democratic societies, and we have rights. And these rights we need to fight for. And I really also am super hopeful because I really love humans and I have full faith that, you know, we are super powerful, and especially when we are working together. And I also love the big, beautiful, diverse group of people that we are. So I am really hopeful in all of this. And I do think that we can create a new digital future together. But there's a lot of work to do. And that work has to start right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Tonya. Thank you, Elena. Thank you, Ivana. Thank you, Danielle. So just for those who haven't seen it, and actually I'd like to shout out, there are a number of cinemas showing the film physically in screens where they're open. Obviously, there are lots of different tiers in the UK, so not everywhere's open, but they're also, all of these cinemas are also participating in the online experience, so you can also donate to your local cinema, even if it's closed, through watching this film. So I'd like to shout out Sheffield Showroom, Nottingham Broadway, Cardiff Chapter, Manchester Home, the Rio in London, the Barbican Cinema, Exeter Phoenix, and Plymouth Arts Centre, amongst others. So go to Bitly Watch iHuman, and you can see the film and donate to your local cinema at the same time. And thank you to our fabulous panel, and have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
It's taking too long. I want you to